Airlines are suspending flight routes to Israel and Lebanon and avoiding Iranian airspace as fears grow over a wider regional conflict after recent killings of key high-ranking Hamas and Hezbollah officials. Over the past 2 days, Air India, Germany's Lufthansa Group, US carriers United Airlines and Delta Air, and Italy's ITA Airways suspended flights to Tel Aviv. Canada and Britain also issuing advisories to airlines to avoid Lebanese airspace. A Singapore airline, citing safety concerns, has stopped flying through Iranian airspace. Flight Radar 24 also showed Taiwan's Eva Air and China Airlines avoiding Iranian airspace for flights to Amsterdam. A significant number of airlines are still flying over Iran, including the UAE carrier Etihad, Emirates and Fly Dubai, as well as Qatar Airways and Turkish Airlines. Experts warn that civil aviation will likely face the risk of drones and missiles should an all-out war break out in the Middle East. Meanwhile, crowds have gathered in Qatar for the funeral of Hamas political bureau leader Ismail Haniyeh. Iran and its regional allies have vowed to respond to his killing. Reports say they are eyeing a joint but limited retaliation against Israel. But there are also calls for an easing of tensions. US and European delegations are holding discussions to find ways to defuse the situation. US President Joe Biden repeated his call for a ceasefire deal, but noted that Haniyeh's death has made the situation more difficult.
We have the basis for a ceasefire. He should move on it, and they should move on it now.
Is that chance for a ceasefire ruined after the assassination of Haniyeh? Is the chance for a ceasefire ruined after the assassination of Haniyeh?
It's not helped.
And for more, Trent Murray joins us live from Beirut. Trent, it seems like many are bracing for a wider conflict in the region. Hezbollah's chief, that's Hassan Nasrallah, saying attacks will resume today. Any sign of that just yet?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it may look like a regular Friday afternoon here in the Lebanese capital, but certainly does not feel like one. There is a real sense that tensions are indeed escalating, and I think many people here are bracing for that potential response. Certainly, Hassan Nasrallah in that speech overnight made it clear that his militant group would respond to that airstrike in Beirut back on Tuesday, which killed one of his senior military commanders. The big question right now, I think, for many here is what will that response look like? Will it be an isolated response from Hezbollah alone, or will it work with some of its regional allies that form the axis of resistance, as they describe themselves, including the Iranians, the Yemen-based Houthis, as well as groups in Iraq? The trend lines would suggest that preparations of some sort are underway, or certainly preparations or precautions are being made. We understand, according to Al Arabiya, pretty well sourced out of Saudi Arabia, that Hezbollah has begun moving senior leaders out of southern Beirut, as well as some of its military equipment that it had stored here. And we're also being told on the Israeli side, according to Israeli Army radio, that all government ministers have been given satellite phones in preparations for any sort of attack that could take down the mobile phone network. So tensions right now remaining red hot, even more so than regular times here in the Middle East. And I think for that reason, you're seeing diplomats really working the phones right now to try and just bring down the temperature to avoid this turning into a wider war.
Trent, we just heard that President Biden, when pushed to answer whether, and I quote this specifically, is the chance for a ceasefire ruined after the assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh, he said it has not helped. And yet, hopes even now, slim as they are, for a deal being reached on a ceasefire.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Hezbollah, for its part, has made abundantly clear in its public messaging that it's really only attacking in solidarity with its ally Hamas and the people of Gaza. And they have signalled that if a ceasefire agreement was made, then they would respect that and the attacks would stop. Now, certainly the Israelis would probably question that logic, but nevertheless, that is why these ceasefire negotiations are so critical, because just if a ceasefire could be arranged and agreed to, then it may just reduce the temperatures somewhat. Again, not just from Hamas, but some of the other groups that align with them. But from much of the perspective of the Palestinians and their allies in the region, the fact that Ismail Haniyeh was taken down in that assassination in Tehran, it questions the logic around just how serious the Israelis are about a ceasefire. If they haven't claimed responsibility, but if they were behind that attack, I mean, I think, again, just so many shifting pieces here. I think diplomats are probably looking for any way out to try and reduce the tensions, and it feels like right now the ceasefire agreement may just be the ace up the sleeve to try and reduce tensions, but it does not look very close. Both sides still seem quite far apart.
Oh, thanks to Trent Murray reporting live from Beirut.